It all started with a scream. Stop him. He stole my purse. James didn't think. He acted. 1 second, he was pushing his daughter's old stroller down a cracked sidewalk, trying to hush her whimpers with the last of her formula, and the next, he was sprinting after a man in a black hoodie clutching a designer handbag. His heart thundered in his chest, not just from the chase, but from instinct. He couldn't stand by, not when someone needed help. The thief was fast. But James was faster, driven by years of hardship, sleepless nights, and a desperate desire to do something right for once. He tackled the men to the ground in an alley, ignoring the sharp pain in his elbow as they crashed onto the gravel. A struggle followed, but James was built from years of lifting warehouse crates and working double shifts. Within moments, the purse was in his hands, and the thief had taken off, bruised and empty-handed. Panting, James turned to see the woman who had screamed now standing at the alley's entrance. Her heels clicked hesitantly on the concrete as she approached. She was beautiful, striking even, with long chestnut hair, piercing eyes, and an aura that screamed elegance. But what stood out most was her expression. It wasn't fear. It was awe. You okay? James asked, brushing gravel off the purse. He glanced down, realizing his shirt had torn at the sleeve, revealing a faded tattoo, his daughter's name, Lily, in cursive. She nodded, still staring. Yes. Thank you. You could have been hurt. He shrugged. I've been through worse. Just glad you're all right. Her name was Claire. He didn't know then that she was one of the richest women in the city, the founder of a tech startup that had revolutionized clean energy storage. To him, she was just a shaken woman who needed her things back. When she offered him money as thanks, he refused. He even looked offended. I don't need a reward. I just hope someone would do the same for my daughter one day. And then he was gone. Claire couldn't stop thinking about him. She'd had security before, bodyguards who flinched at shadows and assistants who'd drop everything at her call. But no one had ever done what James did, help without asking, without expectation. Just because it was right. 2 weeks later, fate brought them together again. James had picked up a side gig delivering groceries to make ends meet. His daughter, Lily, only 3 years old, often tagged along. Claire opened her penthouse door to find the same man, now dressed in a wrinkled hoodie, holding a paper bag and a toddler clinging to his leg. Recognition dawned instantly. James, right? She asked, surprised. His eyes widened. Yeah, do I know you? She smiled. You tackled a thief for me. I never got to thank you properly. He blushed. Oh, that was you. Claire invited him in. That was the beginning. What started as gratitude became friendship. Claire began requesting deliveries through the app every other day, always during his shifts. She loved talking to him, learning about his life, how he'd lost his wife to cancer, how he'd given up his dreams of finishing college to raise Lily, how he worked himself raw just to keep the lights on. James was raw and real. The world hadn't been kind to him, but he hadn't let it harden his heart. Claire found herself admiring him more than any businessman or investor she'd met in her high society circles. He was humble. Strong. A man who didn't know how rich he already was in character. Over months, their bond deepened. She started showing up at the local park where he took Lily. Sometimes with coffee. Sometimes just to talk. She saw how he was with his daughter, gentle, patient, fiercely protective. Lily loved Claire too, calling her Miss Claire, and giving her dandelions like they were treasure. Still, James didn't know. He didn't know about the millions in Claire's accounts. He didn't know about the glass office downtown with her name etched in gold. He only knew that she laughed at his jokes and listened when he spoke. He loved that she treated him like an equal, not a charity case. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One rainy afternoon, James found out the truth. He saw her face on a billboard, Claire Whitmore, CEO of Solistech, powering the future. He felt sick. Betrayed. Embarrassed. When she showed up later, he was cold. Distant. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. She stepped closer, her voice soft. Because I didn't want you to see my money before you saw me. He hesitated. I have nothing, Claire. I sleep on a mattress with springs sticking out. My daughter eats canned soup 3 nights a week. You deserve someone who can give you the world. She took his hand. You gave me more than anyone ever has. You gave me honesty. You gave me kindness. You gave me you. Tears welled in James's eyes. No one had ever said that to him, not since his wife died. It wasn't easy. Their worlds collided, media attention, gossip, even doubt from Claire's inner circle. But love doesn't bow to circumstance. It fights. And they did fight, for each other, for Lily, for the life they were building. A year later, James stood in a suit far nicer than anything he'd ever worn, holding Claire's hands at the altar. Lily stood beside him, beaming, holding both the